Hello everyone, welcome to this tutorial for my soft and delicate arrangement of the modern hymn, How Deep the Father's Love for Us. In this tutorial, I'm going to go over some potential trouble spots and offer some tips for overcoming them, as well as some insight into my thinking as the arranger. Overall, this arrangement is a very, as I already described, very soft and delicate arrangement and should be played, and I think would sound best if played accordingly. So none of it is really ever played loudly. I think the biggest dynamic I have in here is a mezzo forte, and even that can be a soft mezzo forte. Of course, you might find yourself in a context where giving it a little more oomph, or maybe it's just your own style, and that's totally fine. But I'm just giving you insight into my thinking as the arranger. So everything is very soft and very delicate, and that is extremely important for the left hand. So the guiding musical idea really for this arrangement is this plodding left hand. And I'm realizing now where the camera is positioned, it kind of has my hand in at a weird angle. So I'm going to try to demonstrate this as best as I can. But they're quarter note chords that just plod along for almost the entire arrangement without variation. And it's easy when you get chords, especially if you're used to playing hymns out of a hymn book, to just pound those chords out. And we're used to, as pianists, if we do play hymn style, where the congregation is singing, we're used to playing in such a way that the congregation is receiving direction from us. And so we're providing a lot for the congregation and they're following our lead. So we're used to just giving them loud, strong signals from our playing. And so that needs to be thrown out for this arrangement. If you were to play the left hand very loud and strong, it would really, honestly, I think it would ruin the arrangement. So I usually don't speak that strongly because I believe in a pianist's own interpretation. But I think in this case, it might just ruin the arrangement. So if it's unfamiliar to you, then I would just recommend that you practice it. This is not a difficult arrangement to play. I'd call it early intermediate, perhaps. But so if you're, say, an intermediate or an advanced pianist, and it's an easy arrangement for you to play, then I would suggest that maybe you take a look at it beforehand and just make sure that your left hand, maybe practice a soft left hand. Just making sure that movement and those big chords are very soft. And then I know that you're going to immediately, most of you will probably immediately see that how far my hand is stretching here, and want to bring that up. I love the interval of a tenth. When you go from a root up to the third of a chord, I think that voicing is just really, really beautiful and very full sounding. And it's comfortable for me to play that because I have freakishly large hands. And I know that most of you perhaps don't have freakishly large hands, you have normal hands. And so I offer some helps throughout. I don't want to call them helps. They're just ways, if you wanted to voice the chords the same way I have it written, and your hand isn't freakishly large, you could voice them that way. Or you could alter it in such a way that it would still sound the same, or just sound just as good, but doesn't require that spread. So you'll notice these brackets at times. You could play that top note in the left hand with your right hand. In that case, that would be a spread of an octave, F sharp to F sharp. In this case, it's only the spread of a third. So let me demonstrate. That first measure, you would end up playing like this. Wait, I'm sorry, the angle here is really odd. And then in that second measure, you'd just be going and getting the same notes. And then you'll see at times I bracket the top notes. And at those times, if you just omitted that top note in the left hand, it's still going to sound really beautiful. You probably won't even notice the difference. Certainly the people you're playing for won't notice any difference. And that goes throughout. Yep, okay. Before I move on from the first page, the other thing I wanted to bring up was the pedaling. It's normal pedaling to keep that dreamy, delicate, soft sound. You definitely want to use the pedal. But then there are indicators here where I have you hold the pedal for an entire measure, even though the chord changes within that measure. And that's very intentional. And I would, if you don't like the sound of that, you certainly do not have to play it the way I have it written. You are free to make that decision, but it does get a little muddy, and I like that sound. By holding the pedal for the entire measure, that bass note that you played in beat 1, that low D, rings out the entire time. And I don't think that a G up against an F sharp, while it is technically a dissonance, in the context of a 1 to a 4 chord, I don't think it's a beautiful dissonance. So it may be a sound you're not used to and might make you a little bit uncomfortable, but I would encourage you, if it does do that, to just sit with it and see if you might like it or not. But I just want you to know that those pedal markings are very intentional, and when I perform it, I hold the pedal for those entire measures, despite the chords changing. And I think it's really beautiful. All right, 2 other things, and then I'll be done. Or 3 other things, sorry. When you get to measure 22, you have those wide spreads in your left hand. If you are going to omit the bracketed notes, because you have normal hands, it's going to cause you to do a kind of rocking motion. I'm going to play it an octave higher. And you'll see how my wrist is very flexible and my hand is shifting to each, is shifting in advance of each of those movements. So I'm not just trying to plant a hand in place and let my fingers do all the work. I'm letting my wrist be an aid to reaching those different notes. So if your hand isn't as big as mine and those stretches are greater for you, I think it's going to make it easier to keep your wrist flexible and do a movement like this. Really, when you're playing, you want the shape of your hand to be rigid, but you want your wrist, you want your elbow, and you want your shoulder to be very loose and relaxed. When you're playing quick figures, you want your fingers to be very, very relaxed and flexible too, but you never want the shape of your hand to be squishy. That's the one part in piano technique where your muscles really engage, and I don't want to use the word tense up, but are become rigid. That's in the shape, a rounded shape, so that the fingertips of your fingers are the ones making connection with the keys. And I'm nerding out over piano technique, sorry. All that to say, keep your wrist relaxed, and I think you'll be able to hit those movements really easily. What was the other thing I was going to say? I think the only other thing was that it's really easy to play this arrangement too fast. I found myself doing that, very tempted to do that. But I really think that the spirit of this arrangement, being so soft and delicate, is better served by constantly putting the brakes on. I know us pianists, when we perform a piece, especially in front of an audience, it's not sounding as fast, or I'm sorry, it's not sounding as slow as it feels to us it is. So when you play this, it's a really deeply reflective, beautiful hymn. And I don't think that anybody listening is ever thinking, boy, I wish they would play it faster. I think they're thinking about the words as you're playing it, and they're reflecting on them and how beautiful the melody is. And so I don't think you're ever going to play it too slowly, but I think it's really easy to play it too quickly. And so just be careful as you perform it. Keep that in mind. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you for listening and watching. I hope it's been helpful, and I will see you in the next tutorial.